Just thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, of course, man.
I guess we might as well start the interview.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for Rooftops and Alleys? I know that you've had a lot of game inspirations from Jet Set Radio, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Skate 3, free running on the PS2.
Yeah.
But like, what made you one day just sit down and think, yeah, I'm gonna make Rooftops and Alleys?
I think I've been a DJ primarily for the last 10 years, DJ, music producer, and I've always made my own artwork. My background was never music, it was always visuals, design, like 3D stuff, you know, animation, and I've never really was able to apply it as much as I wanted to in the music. And last year I got a bit burned out, and I was like, music is very short-lived. It's just, you know, you make one track and people already want the next one. And I moved places last year, and with that I just kind of had an urge to try something new. So I tried, you know, Unreal Engine, and there's this game that I've always wanted, and I was like, well, you know, maybe I'll just have a go at it and see if I can make a player jump. Maybe I can get a front flip going. Of course the inspirations from the other games, but also my driving factor was frustration. If anything, it was just having the other games just not do exactly what I wanted to. And so the second I was able to, you know, control what kind of trick I wanted to do in my first kind of version of the game, I was like, well, I it feels like I just scratched an itch, like I can't explain it, you know? And I just kind of kept layering on top of that, and it just kind of naturally evolved, honestly. And then also just, you know, the second I posted my first video, it gave me something, I suppose. I get creatives all need a bit of, you know, we all have a bit of an imposter syndrome. We all feel a bit like we're, I suppose, you know, we want approval, we want recognition, you know, and the game just had this natural, almost magnetic thing about it that like people would come in and I would notice people wanting the same thing I've always wanted, which is like a game where you can do parkour and control what you're doing. And it just kind of became this like almost autonomous driving factor that I was sharing videos and I see other people reacting to it, and I was like, this is great. Like, people were really in it for the long run as well and trusted the process, which is something I've never felt from the music, which is always like, what's the next one? What's the next one? You know? And it just became like this thing where I felt like, well, I can really add anything into it. The music, the visual stuff, the 3D animation, and I felt like this has been a long time coming for me. Like the whole past year, all I've been wondering is, why didn't I do this earlier?
You've been documenting your journey basically on Instagram and also on YouTube. But you've had such an overwhelming amount of support and admiration from the community. Like, are you surprised by people falling in love with your game?
I mean, I didn't expect any of the large follower base and the large view count on the videos were completely unexpected. Like I was thinking like maybe I'll definitely catch like someone's attention with this. Like I'm certainly not the only one, but like damn, I didn't think it was that many people. Yeah, like the fact that it promoted itself was like kind of, I suppose, proof of that. But I've completely been overwhelmed by it. Like, I won't lie, even to this moment, because I've just been working on this non-stop, it hasn't really sunk in how you know, what the view count actually means, you know. It's hard to kind of quantify, I suppose. But yeah, it's just been amazing to see people just wanting that same thing. Like, I think I just started off with like just that. I think my Instagram bio in the beginning just said like scratching that itch that other games just don't, which was just like a feeling that I got from making that first version, and I kind of stuck with it. I think it still says it in the Steam page to this day. It's amazing seeing that other people seem to be satisfied by the game in that way as well. Yeah,
because I came across Rooftops and Alleys through Instagram Reels. I'd never heard of Rooftops and Alleys up until this point. I was just flicking through, and I was like, this game looks incredible. Like, I want this. I want to play this right now. Where can I find it? And it's in early access. At the moment, it's exclusively on Steam.
Yes, yeah.
And for me, kind of being a console gamer, I was like, damn it, I really wish I could get my hands on it. I have actually played it as of recently.
Nice.
I got one of my friends from work to bring in his PC. So on our lunch break, I had a little go.
Nice.
Just because I needed to play it before I could speak to you, pretty much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Obviously, my most burning question of all time: the inspiration for the pigeon. was it just instead of fast traveling like in games such as Assassin's Creed, you get more of a player driven way to explore the worlds that you've created?
Yeah, I think coming from Skate and also having played other like sports simulators, like whether it's like Pipe BMX Street, Skater XL and Session and all that, like all these games are really, they are session games. Like you go into a session, you have your session and you try lines over and over again. So I knew from the start I wanted to have a session marker. Now the first time I was able to get one going functionally in Unreal, I was like, okay, well how do I visualize this? And the top of my mind just always said, well, what would people probably want? I went through all the most cliche things that probably would come up. I'll make it a drone, make it this, make it that, And the same applies to, run away from zombies, run away from the police, like all these things that I feel like in other games, like throw it at it, it's always you against the government and it's drones and it's sci-fi and it always has to be bigger than the real world, And I liked the idea of keeping it grounded, and I was like, just put a fucking pigeon in there. And it kind of stuck on because it was great. Like I thought it was also a great A and B. Like the one movement is on the, even though it's not a pigeon simulator, as much as everyone wants it to be, it just gives a great contrast to just the ground movement and a bit more of a dynamic switch up to the free cam essentially that you'd have with the session marker. So I intentionally made it goofy as well, which I guess became also kind of a meme kind of thing about the game.
I guess a Pigeon Simulator is going to be like the next game that you bring out after.
Possibly, yeah.
That mascot will carry it.
Yeah. I mean, like literally the most common things in my Discord as well is like, oh, the biggest only critique on the game is like the pigeon can't backflip. So like I feel like I need to add tricks to the pigeon now.
Well, you've got customization for the main character that we all play as. Is there going to be some customization for the pigeon in the future?
Yes, absolutely. It was not on the to-do list initially, but like obviously with the pigeon becoming more of a face for the game almost, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like I'll add different skins, maybe some hats people as well made with mods already. So the mods are already like catching up to me. So I need to keep up. So yeah, the community is driving definitely what will come to the game, such as the pigeon customization, which 100% will be in there at some point.
Yeah, and I guess customization will come along with, more customization will come along with the full release of the game, because it's only in early access at the moment. With that early access, how long did it take for you to get to the early access stage? Because I know you had a beta and you was documenting that, but how long did it take from you putting that first line of code down to getting that first playable version?
I mean, first playable version is of course hard to point down. Like it was playable for me from the start, but like the one thing I learned, so 9 to 10 months, I will say now, probably more like 10 months by now. It's been in development from zero to this point here. Making it playable was, for me, quite easy because you're always, you know every nook and cranny about what works and what doesn't. So you always played as you intended to be played, but that obviously completely gets obliterated as soon as someone else plays it. So making it really playable for other players is probably, that took me like 4 to 5 months when I started testing it with a few friends and stuff. And to this point, today where everyone seems to be able to play it, luckily, like around 10 months, I'd say.
Oh wow, because like you've had quite a few popular creators be able to present your games on their platform as well, which must be incredible for a solo developer.
Yeah, I mean that's completely nuts. I mean, I woke up on, what was it, Wednesday or Thursday, and my sleeping pattern is completely, it's not existent right now. But I woke up late in the day and I just open up Instagram as I do, and someone just says, "Oh, Moist Critical has played your game." I was like, "No, he hasn't." And I just watched it. I was like, "Oh, well, okay, I guess this is real now." and yeah, with that, like I keep getting sent videos of other larger creators, and it's that is probably the biggest, like, it kind of becomes real then when people that you usually just watch in your free time. I was like, okay, nice.
And like, being a solo developer, have you found it difficult? I know that means that you've got to texture everything yourself, you've got to animate everything yourself. I mean, obviously you're doing the music for it as well, so that's a whole weave of things in itself. Have you found it difficult to get from A to B?
I'll say being a solo developer, I think I've always said I work best when I work alone, which cannot be applied to everything in life. That's completely fair. I've got my fair share of criticism for it, which is completely fair. But yeah, I tend to be quite good at moving from A to B quite quickly as soon as it's just me who's involved and I know my way around Photoshop, and then straight go to Blender, straight go to Unreal, and interact with all the software quite quickly. So that to me is something that I've just been used to. Like my animation and 3D modeling goes back like 15 years. So I've just, that's my home space. Like the Adobe and all the software outside of Unreal, which I've only been doing since last year, I'm very comfortable with that. What I found the hardest was the management as soon as it became popular, which is just managing expectations and just shoving it down everyone's throat that I'm a solo developer, because that didn't cling on early on. So I really got scared, and that was really hard, like mentally as well, because I felt like it was getting too big that I was able to control it. So I became just kind of this, I had to become this machine that was able to like reply to 3,000 comments a day, which is just not maintainable for your mental health. So you obviously scroll past like negative comments, and ultimately you'll see comments that you will never be able to offer that in your game, and so that I found the hardest part, just managing expectations, having people know the back end story of what this game is, and it's it's a small project. This is a small scale. This is my first game. Like take it easy on me. So that was really the hardest part. The making of it, I just enjoy so much. I can't call it hard, really.
Yeah, I bet that you literally wake up, think of a new idea, get to work, go do some DJing, and then back on the computer, do some DJing for the game, and go to bed.
Basically.
But with that, obviously being a DJ, what got you into game development? Did you do a degree, or have you just always had like an interest?
It was more of an interest. Like I did start off in Berlin to study communication design. I didn't finish that. Then I went to studying music. I got a bachelor in music production, which honestly, if anyone's listening, don't go study art. It's a waste of money and resources. There's everything for free online, and that's literally how I make this game from scratch. Everything came from a free resource for the most part when it comes to my education around the Unreal Engine space and programming and everything. So yeah, I definitely don't come from an educated background as far as programming goes, or Unreal Engine. Only space I know my way around was, like I said, Photoshop, graphic design, 3D modeling, and also that just came from YouTube, honestly. So
yeah, because it must have been quite daunting to, like, for most people. I know for myself that just the idea of game development would fuel my nightmares for a good couple of years. So the fact that you've been able to learn all of this in your own time while doing a job during the day, it's just incredible. Props to you.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
What's your favourite part of Rooftops and Alleys? Like, what's the one thing that you just think, that is it?
I think it's just being able, and this will sound stupid, but I think it's just being able to just jump whenever I want to, because that's how the idea started for the game as well. It's the frustration of just other games, like this game has that, and like the certain amount of freedom that I still get, even though I'm probably the one person who's played it the most, is like, that's my favorite thing. I can jump in and I can do whatever I want. I'm not limited by some type of grinding system. Well, of course now there's no progression yet. There may be some in the future, but it's just freedom of doing what I want in a game. Like, being able to zone out and still get that feeling with my own game is like favorite thing.
Yeah, because at the moment for me, I've played so many kind of RPGs and first-person shooters that now I just kind of want a chill game to just play and not necessarily turn off my brain, but be able to just like move with the game and relax and not have to worry about someone around the corner about to shoot me, or I've got 50,000 quests that I've got to do. Yeah. The fact that it's easy, I mean, obviously there's a learning curve to the game's mechanic, but the fact that just the sheer world, and like you don't get chased by zombies, you won't be getting shot by police officers in here and there, like it's that just you just get to be there. I think one YouTuber said, oh yeah, this is like a flow state game, and I love like that name. I think just pretty much says it quite well. I think the game itself gives me the feeling that I always get when making music and when just working on something artsy in Photoshop. It's like this flow state that you get in, and it's almost like a meditative state of just like
this is just you and this thing, you know, and you're not being distracted. I don't think games should be difficult and overwhelming as well, where you have to do all of these things. And again, it's kind of counter, I suppose, because like there's a learning curve to the game as well. But once you get a hang of it, like that flow state is just, it's something easy. It's not exhausting, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you even released a 20-minute video about kind of how to work your way around the controls. So I think that's quite a nice thing to have a game that, although it's casual and you're not having to worry about another player, for example, trying to hunt you down, you still have to mentally do something. It's not just hold down R2 and move forward like in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And with the newer Assassin's Creed parkours are a whole bundle of rubbish in themselves. They really went downhill after Unity.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, it's weird because there's a couple of things I always wanted the games to have, and they just didn't do it. And I really wanted to like every new game after it, but I think that's also the benefit, the double-edged sword that I have is I have way less resources, but at least I don't have to go through like 50 different people to get approval for a fucking jump button. You know? Yeah. I could just add it. But yeah, so that's quite beneficial, I suppose.
Like for the future. What do you want to add that you haven't already mentioned? I know that you're adding in sliding down poles. I saw that reel a couple of days ago. Is there anything that you haven't speculated on or told us about you'd want to add in, but you haven't as of yet?
There's a lot of things on my to-do list that I want to do. I have specifically not shared a roadmap yet, which is kind of unusual, I suppose, for being in early access. But that's kind of me trying to still maintain a transparent environment of like managing expectations. So before setting up expectations, I always try and like be comfortable and confident in whatever I can deliver. So pole sliding, of course, like that comes out tonight. Probably by the time this video is out, that is out already. The majority of it will be focused initially on fixing what's there. So you'll have your wall ejects, and they're just kind of broken right now. So those will be fixed tonight, where you just get more control. Like the game is all about control, and where control currently lags is the first thing that you can expect in the future. With that as well, post sliding, I want to add monkey bars, like swinging in general. Obviously with parkour as well, there's more moves. In parkour and free running, there's an unlimited move set, and I've only unlocked about 1% of it, I suppose. There's a limit, of course. You know, controller only has so many buttons before it starts just becoming programming. But, you know, double vaults, maybe a different, you know, Kong vault, double Kong vault to front flip, whatever, like some crazy stuff. I just want to have more coverage than I currently have, basically. But also progression I want to add in the future, because there's of course people advise me against this. Other devs tell me don't read your refunds. I read them all because I think that's how I'll actually improve the game. Well, I obviously only listen to constructive feedback, but you know, there is people that may be saying like, oh, there's nothing to do, and there's people who are more creative and they can play this game for. I think there's people like who have 80 hours on this now, which is just nuts. And they are obviously like quite creative people, and they don't necessarily need that guidance throughout the game to have fun. Like they'll come up with their lines, and I think adding something to the game that guides you a bit more and teaches you how to be creative and how to interact these moves and have specific challenges that says go do a front flip to that vault and then do that, and you'll get a live kind of interaction from the game if you're doing it correctly. So progression in that sense that unlocks new customization, maybe even a new trick, maybe a move style set would be amazing in the future. So there's definitely room upwards. I guess the hardest part will become telling when it's finished, because technically the move set will never be finished, you know, like it will be at some point. I'll have to come to a conclusion like, okay, I think this is enough. Because yeah, talking about consoles, of course, that is a plan, so that needs to at some point happen with a finished version. That needs to be in place. As
I've said in both of my videos, this would be the perfect game on Switch. Just on the go. Like, the thought of it is just incredible to me.
Yeah. I think the game, the one thing I've always tried to do is not to use the latest technology. Not like there's people online that say, "Yo, it's Unreal Engine, bro. Why it's not photorealistic?" I'm like, well, you'll get it at some day when it maybe drops on Switch, you know. Obviously, like, you know, as accessible as I can make it would obviously be the goal. And not having, I'm very happy that I had that choice of making a bit more of an art style directed, you know, game. Because at the end of the day, it may actually open it up to last gen consoles. You know, I can't promise this, but of course, you know, getting it on PS4 as well instead of just PS5 and maybe even on the Switch if I can. Very hard to say anything like this before I actually, work with a publisher officially, and they'll have the expertise to, actually give a roadmap of what's possible and all those things. But yeah, I think chances are good. Like, it already runs max settings on Steam Deck, 60 FPS, so I wanted to have some sort of portable version for the early access, so that I'm quite happy about. But that, you can improve on that optimization even, hopefully, to the point where it runs on Switch.
You already answered my question. I was going to ask about console release.
Oh, right.
So
just re-edit it.
yeah, I'll move around. Console release, when's it coming out? With the development of Rooftops and Alleys, I know that it's not even fully released yet, but are you planning on continuing development for a prolonged period of time after the game has released, or have you even got your idea on something new? Because you've smashed it out of the park with the first one, why not a second?
Yeah, I mean, this is like talking long in the future, of course, but there's a lot of options. Yeah, there's a lot of options for I mean, the Skate at the end of the day is a franchise as well. It wasn't a singular game. I'm sure they've learned a lot with their first game, and I will learn a lot with my first game. And there's obviously things like the most requested thing is multiplayer, and my game just isn't built for it, and that comes down to me not knowing anything and just making this game while learning. So maybe in a future version, Rooftops and Alleys 2 could be built from ground up for multiplayer. I can't promise this, but that could be something in the future. But I'll definitely want to update the game as much as I can. I am currently talking to a few industry people, trying to educate myself if you can even update console games, because so far I just hear like, oh, your PC version needs to be finished and then that can be ported to console. So I want to develop this game as long as I can, because even if it's finally out, whether it's a DLC or just continue doing free updates, I just want to keep adding on if I'm allowed to, literally, for consoles as well, as long as I'm not gatekeeping anything from console players that PC gamers would have. I basically just want it to be accessible for everyone. So whatever I'm adding, it's always trying to include everyone and every platform along the way.
Yeah, crossplay's become a big thing over the past couple of years.
Oh, God, yeah.
As you were saying with updating, I don't know if you remember with Grand Theft Auto 5, for the first week or so, or for the first couple of days, you couldn't play multiplayer, and then they dropped it after. But I don't know if that was already kind of in the source code.
Probably. Yeah.
One final question for the man, the myth, the legend, Michael. And that game, God, it's been a long day talking. Been in interviews all day. My final question is, how does it feel to have your first game be such a huge success? Like, right out of the bat, as soon as people saw it, they just fell in love.
I'm very happy. My initial reaction is I'm over the moon. Like, I think this could literally not have gone any better, and so that's also kind of the issue, because I am so stressed, and because it's gone so much better than I expected. It's very hard for that to kind of I feel like I would need to take a vacation for 2 weeks, and then I could maybe tell you how it actually feels, because I'm so in it. Like, I haven't even digested one thing, and then Moist Critical plays my game, and then I tried to digest this, and then another thing happens, and it's bigger than life. And I'm like, man, I grateful is probably how I feel. That's the biggest thing I can say. And seeing the community come together autonomously, people making their own leaderboards and new maps already. Like, I see people playing my game on the Skate 3 maps, which is wild. So it's continuously overwhelming, I suppose, and partially, and that's the little side thing that my imposter syndrome always gets. But I always also feel a little guilty, because I feel like I've got very lucky, and there's a lot of people who make a lot more games before they get successful with it, and so I just can't help but feel a little guilty, because I've also got to meet a lot of great people and great developers, and they've been doing this for way longer than I have, and I feel like I just got lucky that my idea was very aligned with something that supposedly was wanted in the gaming industry, and so overwhelmingly happy, a little guilty.
Yeah, because a lot of games, they just, especially of modern titles, they just get so bloated, and it's just so overwhelming. For me, I'm currently going through Tears of the Kingdom and The Witcher 3 at the same time, and I've been playing The Witcher for about 3-4 months.
Nice.
just because there's so much to do, and it's just really nice and refreshing that I'm kind of now in my, I don't know if you call it like a cozy game era, where I don't want anything too intensive, but it's just nice to see that people like yourself are still creating these games that don't demand too much of my time. Like with Rooftops and Alleys, people can just hop in and then hop out. They can do a few time trials here and there if they want something extra to do, for example.
Yeah.
But they're not being dragged over to the tallest tower in the world to do a side quest. Speaking of which, I was actually just thinking, collectibles?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, with customization, expanding with I mean, there's so much, to do there. I think having larger maps in the future as well will enable a lot of things to be explored and a lot of things to potentially be discovered. So yeah, I've already put Easter eggs in there. I'm surprised no one's found them.
It's just your face plastered everywhere.
Yeah.
If you can promise me one thing, just please don't put like 100 feathers like in Assassin's Creed 1. Or no, Assassin's Creed 2. Platinuming Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood was probably the bane of my existence. So if you put 99 in, it's fine. Just not 100. Do you have anything that you want to say to your fans before we round off?
Probably just thank you to as well to you. Thanks for everyone who's so supportive, because I feel like it's people want to help me and people try and give me platforms and they share my videos and I feel like I'm very proud of my game, but I'm just overwhelmed with the support. So I just want to thank literally everyone, for you and everyone who supported me and continues to do so, and the community, especially on Discord as well, who are modding the hell out of my game and make me stay on my toes and keep the updates coming. So yeah, just an overall thank you to everyone who's it's possible for me to have a new job now. Well,
thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure that everyone who's searching for Rooftops and Alleys is gonna come across this video and be like, so that's what got him into creating video games. That's what got him into making this game that I've been playing for the past 300 hours.
Yeah, hopefully, man. I hope people learn more about the back end. It would definitely help me not answer as many comments in the future.
Well, if people in the future, they're like, Pigeon ? Just ask me and I'll send you a time stamp of when we was talking about the pigeon. You can just send it to them, and then
hell yeah.
Questions. No, but honestly, thank you so much.
Of course, man. Thank you.
And cut.